it's Kay here. Been making sourdough for quite some time now, and I often get asked, how do you make it so nice? I think the base of my sourdough contributes to how the flavour is very nice. I've got here the basic starter. Now this is a starter that's 26-year-old now, and as you use it more and more, you will find it will get more flavour and work better and rise better. So in this starter, you might be able to see, you put, I take from this amount, I take 57 grams of the starter, 57 grams of flour, a plain flour, and 57 grams of body temperature water, filtered water. You might find that you can't make that too hot because it will kill the starter. Now my starter's name is Eric, always has been, and you can name it whatever you like, and it's a bit like a baby. You've got to look after it and feed it once a week. Just a bit of flour and sugar and, not sugar, flour and water. So that's the basic starter. Over here I've had just that I just said, had it rising for the last few hours just on a heat pad. But if it's a nice warm day, you can have it just sitting out on your windowsill or whatever. And you'll notice there's lots of bubbles, and that's grown quite beautifully. So what I need to take from this one, and I feel the bottom, it's warm, not hot, warm, just enough to get that rising. And it's to double the amount that you've put in. So in this amount, with this amount, I will put my bowl, which has got to be a ceramic or a plastic bowl, preferably ceramic, not a metal bowl, because that affects the rising of your mixture. So I'll put that on there and take it to a 0. Now I want to get 100 grams of this starter into this bowl. So I'll just gently scoop it out into the bowl, always measuring with weights, not with cups or teaspoons. Only because if it's packed in tightly, you'll get more flour. But if you have it light, you just don't know how much is going to be in there. So always do it with weight. Now I'm getting that to 100 grams of the starter. So you'll notice that a fair bit of that's gone. Now next time I will feed this the same amount with the 57, 57, 57, and that will give me enough to start another 2 loads. So I'll put that aside. Now in here I'm going to be putting 700 grams or mils of warm water, not cold, not hot, because you will kill your lovely natural yeast, but just warm water. Now I usually have filtered water like this, and then I'll get boiled filter water from the kettle, and then I can slowly put it in. I'm not measuring, because I'll be measuring it with my scales. So I'll put some boiled water in there just to get a nice temperature, body temperature, not too hot, and that will help the yeast rise. So I will put it back to 0, and I want 700 mils. Just slowly tip it in with your washed hands, of course. Just with your fingers, give it a bit of a stir around. So we're wanting 700. Now I put a little bit too much in there. So I will just scoop out from the top because I haven't mixed it yet. A few tablespoons. There we go. So that's 700 mils in there. Just give it a mix with your fingers. You can feel it all onto the bottom. You want to mix that up with the lovely warm water, filtered water, if you've got it. Otherwise, boil your kettle, leave that for a few hours until it's cooled down, and then use that if you haven't got a filtering tap. Now, that's all mixed. I can feel, it just feels like water now, all mixed in. Now, I'm wanting a kilo of flour in here, so always sift your flour. You never know what's going to be in there. So back to 0, and I'm holding that up because it's going to get, whoops, hold on, back to 0, and I'll hold that up. And I want a kilo in. I usually at about 500 grams, I give it a bit of a stir so it's a bit easier to do it later, which is about now. Now there was a couple of impurities in there then that would have gone into our bread. So just with a spatula, just give it a bit of a stir from the outside in. Scooping it around the edges. Just very gently, you don't want to wreck it. So we need another 500 in. Now this will make 2 good sized loaves of sourdough. We're almost there. There we go. As you can see, there's a few impurities in there too. So I'll just tip that out using the same spatula, outside in. You can take it off the scale. Oh, hold on, we've got to put our salt in. So about 18 grams of salt. I usually put that in at the end because you don't want it mixing too much with your yeast because it could damage it. So I know it's approximately 3 teaspoons, but I still weigh it. So I'll do 0 again. Just normal table salt will do. So that's taking it up to 13. Couple more, a little bit more. That's 18 grams. All right, we'll get our spatula out. We'll start to move it through. And it should come up to a really nice dough. Only takes a couple of minutes. And then we leave this and come back in half an hour. You can take that off the scales now. Come back in half an hour, and we knead it again. And we knead it every half hour for 2 hours. So that should be around 4 times this gets kneaded. You can see how it's coming together. And once it doesn't get too sticky, you can roll it out and start to work it. So I'll get a bit of flour out now. And on my bench here, I will roll this out. And it's sort of not like a normal bread dough. It's a little bit stickier than a bread dough. So you haven't got any left in there. But you'll work this now. I'll put a little bit of flour on my hands. And now I will work this and get it all together. It'll only take, see, that's quite sticky there. It mustn't have been worked well enough. And you're starting to get those lovely bubbles in it. And getting some air into it. So the first kneading is really just getting it together. The next lot of kneading, you're really working the outsides in, because you want to get that air through it. Really doesn't take long to make sourdough bread. It's just a time-consuming thing that you really got to be home and come back to it every half hour or so. I always set the alarm because I'm off doing something and forget about it. See how that's come together really nicely. And it is still a little bit sticky, but that's okay. That's okay. That's what makes it so beautiful and moist. A little bit more. Okay, so we've got that, and we want that sitting in our ceramic bowl. So I'll put a little bit of flour in there, you might have seen at the end. And I will sit that there, and every half hour I will come back 3 or 4 times and take that out and do it again. I will show you that you work it a little bit more the next few times, stretching it and so forth. So I'm going to leave that there, and we'll come back in half an hour and I'll show you the first changeover. Well, Google tells me 30 minutes is up. I wouldn't have thought so, but 30 minutes is up. Stop. So what we've got now is we've got our dough. It's been rising. It's a little bit warm today, but not hot. It's only risen a little bit, but enough that we can just knead it again. Now, as I said before, we'll be kneading it every 30 minutes and another 3 times after this. So I put some flour on the bench here. Now I've got here a scraper. It's specifically for bread making. I used the, I don't know what you call it, the smaller thing before. And now these are really good because you can get right underneath it and work it that way. Apparently my son told me this morning that we can buy these at Kmart for about $4. So that's really good. Whip down there, grab yourself one. It makes it a lot easier to work with. So I'm just going to get my scraper, scrape it from the edge out, and just take it out. And it's come out fairly clean, even though it is still a little bit sticky. You've got to keep it a little bit sticky though. So we've taken it out there. Looking nice. It's got a little bit of air in it. We want to work that. I'm right-handed, so I'll work it from the left and then I can rotate it with my right. So I'm wanting to get that stretched, stretched, stretched. And you'll start to see it compacts and it'll look great on the other side. Like that. So just do it a bit more. Do it for a minute or two. If you're finding it's still sticking on the bench a little bit, like that is, just a little bit, not too much, because the more flour you use at this stage, the heavier it'll be. And you don't want it too heavy, you want it nice and light. So I'm getting the dough, grabbing it, stretching, folding. Grabbing, stretching, folding. And you'll see this poking out bit as you're working it, and again, folding and folding. Just a minute or two, and then I take it over, and that side's a little bit sticky, so put it onto your flour, work it, a little bit of flour in the bowl, not too much, just enough to stop it from sticking, and we put it in there. Looking great. Cover it. As I said, it's a nice warm day. I've heard that some places have bread facilities in the oven, so it'll be a very slight temperature, bread rising facility I think it's called. I don't have that, so I just leave it in there. Another 30 minutes and knead it again. Another 30 minutes, knead it again. And another 30 minutes, knead it again. I'll come back at that end kneading and we'll show you how to split. Oh no, actually, then it will sit for a couple of hours and then we'll split it into 2. But for now, I'll just leave it like that, cover it, and go and watch the cricket.
Your sourdough bread timer is up.
Stop. Well, Google says my time is up. It's been an hour and a half since I've seen you last, and I've been kneading this every half an hour. So this is the last one before I let it sit for 4 hours. I've been doing things, watching cricket, and you'll see the difference in it now to the last time I worked with it for you. There it is, beautiful. Nice and soft. You've got some bubbles happening there. So once again, I've got my paddle and it's just coming out beautifully. You'll see how much more stretched it is when I start working with it. I'm going to put a bit of flour onto the bench. Not too much, as I said before. You don't want it too heavy. And bringing it out. Beautiful, comes out lovely and clean. You can see that it's getting lighter and lighter every time I've done it. It's beautiful. So once again, get it to your round, working left hand and making a circle with it with your right. So pulling it out into the centre, circle, out, in. out in. And see how easy that stretches now from when we first started. It's getting all that elasticity in it and working really well. So I do this usually about a dozen fold overs, and it's just working really lovely now. I'm not having to do much more. You're just pulling it, getting those bit of air into it, and it's getting really lovely and tight. You'll feel it as you're doing it, how much tighter it's getting, going around and around. That's almost right. I don't think I can do a lot more. Bringing it over. You'll see around this side, I've got those lovely bubbles happening. Now that's going to sit, I've got lovely light and sun coming in my front window. So I'm actually going to sit it in this bowl with the clean tea towel in the sunshine for the next 4 hours. 4 hours it will be sitting there. And then after that I will split it, work it again, and then that will go into the fridge for, can be up to 24 hours, no longer than that, and a minimum of 12 hours. So I usually make it about 16 to 18 hours. The longer you've got it, the better flavour you'll have in it. So I've put a bit of flour in there. That's going to go in there, sit beautifully. Might put a little bit of flour on top. Just pull it around, put that down, and it'll sit in the sun for the next 4 hours. So you can do whatever you need to do, and I'll follow it up with the actual splitting and into the bread making. Thank you. Well,
Your
that's
sourdough
Google
bread
again.
timer is up.
That means 4 hours is up since I spoke to you last. Stop. So here I've had this sitting in the sunshine coming through the windows. Last half hour I've put it into the oven, just because I'd turned the oven off after dinner. It had cooled down and it was only just slightly warm. So I put it in there for the last half hour. So in the last 4 hours we've made dinner, seen Australia go out, and the cricket's almost finished. So let's get this up to its second last stage. So I haven't looked at this yet. We'll have a look and hopefully it's risen. Looks beautiful. Look at that. Gorgeous. Double in size, just about. Now I'm going to put a bit of flour down. What I've got here in front of me are a couple of different ways that you can have your dough put in. For years and years and years I used these. These are just the baskets that you get with your ricotta in it. So I use that and I put some baking paper in it. And so when I put the dough in and I just put it in the oven into the fridge, it'll just be like this. And then tomorrow I can just take it out like that, put it into my cast iron pot and cook it that way. And this is another thing. They're quite expensive, but they give you that ring effect. So what you do is you do your dough, put it in upside down, and when you take it out, I get baking powder, put it on the top and flip it. So you'll get all those rings. It's just an effect thing. These things are good instead of a solid bowl because they breathe. You've got some breathing happening here, so you don't want a solid bowl because you don't want it sweating. So I'm going to take this out, see how we go. Beautiful. Coming away from the edge, slightly sticky is how we want it. Looking good. Just get those last bits out and put that aside. Okay, so you can see that we've got quite a bit of dough here. So what I'm going to do is roughly cut it in half using this again. It's got a bit of an edge on it. So I'm just doing it at approximately, splitting it apart. Put the flour over to the side for that to rest on while I'm doing this one. So same thing as before really, just get it into a bit of a circle if you can. We're wanting to combine that because you've done a split, so you need that to be all kneaded together again. So once again, let's try, pull it together, round and around until you've knocked some of the big lot of air out, but you've still got those lovely bubbles. So you're pulling it together like we did last time. Your hands are still a bit, if it's still sticking, just a little bit on your hand. We don't want to put any more on our dough. So remember last time I got it tighter and tighter to the point where I couldn't even, I had trouble getting the last one up. We're nearly there. About a dozen times again. Not tightening up quite yet. I reckon that's just about it. So you've just got a nice small amount there. Bubbles on the side here. So when you break open your bread, you'll have all those lovely bubbles inside. Now I'm going to put it in this one first up. That's what it looks like. So we've got this other cane basket, bit of flour, because you're going to bring it over here so you can do the same. See how it goes, pulling it in. So the sun's gone down here and I've had to turn the lights on so you can see what I'm doing. So this one's getting a bit tighter, and a bit tighter. And you can hear that was the some of the air coming out as I'm putting it together. Okay, I'm going to bring it over. Now with this one, it's slightly different. We've got to put some rice flour in here. Rice flour is a little bit finer and easier to handle. And that will go on the top of our loaf when we bring it out upside down. And it stops it from sticking on there too. So I'm going to put that upside down, this one. That way, and it'll spread out a little bit, but that's okay because when I toss it, you'll have all those lovely rings on it. With this one, I'm going to put some of this on top, but it'll stop it from getting a crust on the top. You can even put some underneath if you want to. I probably should have actually put some just in there. And that'll stop it sticking. It's pretty easy to handle at this stage, so not much will affect it. So what happens now, if I get the clean tea towel that I've been using on the thing, put that aside, and we'll put that over there, and I will put it on a shelf in the fridge for at least 16 hours. I will get that out in the morning and we'll do another video, and hopefully it'll look great, and we'll cook up some beautiful fresh sourdough bread. Have a good night. Hi, it's the next day. We're finally baking our sourdough bread. It's been 18 hours since I've put it into the fridge, just to get those flavours coming through. Now, I've taken this one out of this basket and I've actually scored some of it already. I've got a scorer here. You can buy them. My hubby made this for me. Works really well. It's just a blade with some frame, so if you're very talented, or you've got a hubby that's talented, get him to make one up for you. They're very good. I've just scored that crossways. You can do very simple things crossways, just even slices. It just gets to release some of that air and heat that will all come together in the middle, and it needs to be released. So it's coming up to Christmas, near Christmas, so I'm trying to do a bit of a Christmas pattern here. I've scored to the side, you can see there, starting to come apart a little bit. I've had it out for a few minutes. I've taken these out a half an hour before I'm going to be putting it into the oven. I've turned the oven on, and my cast iron pot is in the oven, and it stays in there until I take it out and put this in there. So it's all nice and hot inside with the lid on. So here we go. I'm scoring this last bit that I haven't done yet. So just with the point of the blade, I'm just going to do a score and just bring it to the side. It doesn't really matter. I'm just trying to get it to look like a Christmas tree. Try to break through. There's a bit of a skin, so you've just got to try to break through that skin a bit. And down. Try not to encroach in one cutting, otherwise it just breaks open. So this will come out and it'll look like a bit of a Christmas tree coming out. So that's what I've done so far with that. So all sides are done. As I said, you can do all different things. You can do checkers, whatever you like. So now I'm getting my cast iron pot out of the oven. Very hot, extremely hot. As you can see, it's been very well used over the years. And I'm just lifting that up and putting it straight in. Straight in like that. Just bring them back a little bit. There's the dog barking. And I just put the lid on and I put it in there for half an hour. I would turn it down. The oven's been on at about 250. I've been getting that up. So now I'm taking it down to 220 for about half an hour, and then I'll take the lid off and put it down to about 190, 200, around that, depends on how your oven is, and take the lid off for another 20 minutes. So we'll see how that goes. Over here I've just got this one out because I want it sitting out while the other one's in the oven. You can do two at once, but I find if I'm home, I just do one at a time. It seems to, I don't know, work better. But with this one, this is the one in the bamboo shaper. So I just put that on there, and I'm just going to give you a look at what it's like. I might put it back in again because it's not ready to go. But see how you get those beautiful rings on it? That's from the bamboo shaper. So you've got those beautiful rings. You may see them in commercial sourdough That's how they get them. So I'm not going to do any scoring with that yet. I'm just going to put it back in again and flick it out again and score just before I put that in. So that's when that one comes out, I will do that one. So we'll catch up later when the other one comes out of the oven. Thank you. It's been half an hour now and I've had the bread in my cast iron pot. Let's have a look. I'm just going to take it out, take the lid off, and then put it back in for another 20 minutes and turn the temperature down. Hopefully it looks alright. Shut that oven door, keeping the heat. There we go. It's looking good. Now when we put it back in, that top will all brown up and you'll get what's called crispy ears. That's these bits. Crispy, delicious. So that's what we're aiming for, a nice brown top. So that'll go back in for 20 minutes at around 200, 190, 200. Thank you. Well, Google says that it's been 20 minutes since I put it in the second time. Let's have a look and see how it goes. Stop. Looking beautiful. So there we've got the lovely ears, the crispy ears here. It's lovely, the perfect colour. You can do it a bit darker if you like it a bit darker, but that's how I like it. You just lift it up. And there it is. Beautiful. Alright, now I'm going to put this back in again because of course I want to do my next loaf. Putting the lid on again. Turning the oven up to about 250 and get that hot again. Now with this one, while that's heating, I'm just going to toss that over and do just a simple decoration for this one. So you've got your rings. And I'm going to put some some rice flour onto it. And those rings will come through that. And as I said, I'm just going to do a simple decoration with this. I'm just going to do a curved slice down the middle and two smaller. That's all I'm going to do with that one. You can make it as elaborate or as simple as you like, just as long as that air is releasing in there. So I'm going to do the same thing when the oven's heated. Do the same thing, put it in for 30 minutes at around 220. Take it out again, take the lid off and back in for 20 minutes at around 200. And then I'll just do another video with both, see how they looked, and see how we go. Thank you. So the last of this one's cooking of 20 minutes has been on. Stop. So I'm going to get that out now and let's see how it looks. I've gone for a slightly darker one. I'm hoping it's going to be a little bit darker, this one. I've just had a little bit higher in my temp, so no, it's not really. There we go. I thought it might be a little bit darker, but yeah. Looking nice. See how just that simple scoring has made it look really good. There's our 2 loaves of sourdough bread. I hope you enjoyed the video. I enjoyed doing it, and I'm sure my husband will enjoy eating it all. And thank you very much. What I've done here is not necessarily exactly the thing you're supposed to do, but it's the thing that works for me. So I hope you've enjoyed it, and goodbye from Kay's Kitchen.